So very great to have you here. Today's session with you all is about like social selling, right? So our merchants, they are like Shopify brand. Some of them are starting, some of them are scaling. So this is a pretty interesting topic for them. Social selling, we all know, has transformed how people discover and buy online. It's not just about ads anymore. It's entertainment, it's authenticity, it's trust. And that's why I'm excited to be here today. And I'll go straight into it. So when we talk about social selling, so let's first of all, what is it and what are the biggest benefits? I know that's a pretty high level question, but I think if frame it in a very nice way and we can get started with this. Michelle, can I ask you to tell me like what are the benefits of social selling and what is it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really interesting about social selling compared to marketplace selling, which is where a lot of online selling happens, right? We think about marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, those types of places. What drives selling and buying on those platforms is awareness. Somebody's already aware that they have a need and they're going to go search and find and buy on a marketplace. What's different about social selling is that you have the opportunity to create awareness. And when you create awareness, and you're introducing that idea of a need, then you are the brand that will have the opportunity to capitalize on fulfilling that need. And the faster you can make that conversion happen, the more likely you are to win the sale, right? So the less friction, the better. And so social platforms have really you know, like TikTok and TikTok Shop have really grown in the ability to reduce that friction and make it easy for buyers to both discover and to fulfill that impulse need for what they discover on the platform.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, TikTok, we do see ourselves as a discovery channel for sure. We actually see that 4 out of 5 TikTok users are introduced to new products and new brands through TikTok. So it is a really good platform to get your products discovered for needs that folks didn't know that they had, and be kind of more top of funnel, but also like meet them where users are actually engaged and actually like open to trying new things.
Totally. I wouldn't mind stepping in here for a second. When I first found TikTok Shop, what I found was so interesting about it was that I owned a bunch of brands over the years, and one of the things I really hated doing was working with influencers. The reason why is it was such a black box, right? You had no idea whether they were going to actually perform for you or not. So when I saw TikTok Shop, so somebody told me, they're like, "Oh, this TikTok Shop thing is around." And I thought it was like similar to like Meta and Instagram shops where it's like, okay, it's just another place to check out. When I realized the incentive structure behind it and how the only way that creators get paid is if they actually produce revenue for you, it finally created a win-win, right? And that's why TikTok Shop has exploded versus you see all the competitors out there and no one else is really doing that. And that's the main reason why I think that it works. And so the more that creators attempt and try and push getting paid lump sums before, the more that it actually makes the platform not nearly as good. The reason why it works so well is because it's a win-win, right? And it also turns regular people like TikTok, the way that the TikTok algo works is that it turns anyone that has a minimum amount of following into a creator, right? And because the algorithm is not necessarily based on followers nearly as much as it is on content, those creators, anyone is able to then like have a product and talk about it and then sell it. And it's incredible to see. That's why I love social selling. I think that's the real thing behind all of this.
Yeah, and we
And
often also find, oh, sorry, Michelle, but we
yeah,
also
go ahead.
find that a lot of the really like top selling creators on our platform for specifically for TikTok Shop is not the millions of followers, influencers that you might have in mind. It is like some of the smaller micro influencers, like UGC creators who really know the product and who also really understand the audience that they're trying to reach. So you definitely have the range that you can tap into there in terms of the type of creators that you can collaborate with on TikTok Shop.
I think one of the things that's really critical to understand about social selling versus regular selling, like running ads or doing things like that, is that a social commerce platform like TikTok, the algorithm gets to know you as a user, right? And one of the things that sellers especially need to remember when it comes to selling on these platforms is the reason why people are on the social media platform in the first place, right? Are they there to buy? No, because if they were there to buy, they would already be on Amazon, right? They're there for entertainment. They're there to check out. They're there to discover. They're there to check on grandma. You know, what is she doing now? What is she doing today? Right? Like, and we need to remember that entertainment value first. Because when we do that, then we can create content that actually like resonates with our potential buyers. And the beauty of the algorithm, especially TikTok's algorithm, is that when shoppable posts do pop up, it doesn't feel like you're, being presented with an ad like you would be on Netflix, where you're like, watching your show and then all of a sudden at the most crucial moment, an ad pops up and you're just like, no, I have to sit here for the next 5 minutes and watch a commercial, right? Like the beauty of the social algorithms is that it gets to know your interests. And so that when you then get served shoppable content, it doesn't feel interruptive. It feels relevant because you're like, I do like that shirt. You're right. I do need
Totally.
that skincare. I do want that Dubai chocolate. Get in my mouth, right? So it isn't that same feeling of being sold to as it does in other entertainment platforms that have interruption style advertising.
And then
Yeah,
you
and
have
I
an
think
amazing
it's
algorithm that keeps pushing like the content that you really like in front of you, and you're like, how am I gonna do it? I don't have all this money to buy everything, so I need to make a choice. Yeah, sorry, saying, yeah, please go.
yeah, and obviously to add on to Michelle's point, there's the element of authenticity as well. Because a lot of the content that you'll see is not necessarily directly from the brand, like the stage commercial that you may see on TV, on streaming networks. It is these real life people, these creators who are, using the product, showcasing the product, like seeing, like explaining how it works for them or like why they like it. So there's that definitely element of social proof and kind of authenticity that really appeals to the customers who continue to purchase on TikTok Shop.
I want to pick on this on one of the things that also, like Michelle said, in terms of top of the funnel, right? So, and for those who don't know, it's basically all the advertising that come as a almost first touch point with the brand, right? So, when I think this is like the power of TikTok, but it also introduced like one of the some people feel like a limitation, right? So because they have a website, and on top of that they have their social channel, right? I would say almost the other way around. Like, so TikTok shop and like in these like social shops, they are a way to drive people to visit the website, because they are a discovery channel, and they can help. Actually, you can tap into an audience that is already created, and that's like a big opportunity for you, right? Rather than having to drive people into your website through like SEO, through ads. What do you think of this, Michelle?
Oh, is that directed at me? Sorry.
Yeah, just
Well,
any of you. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, from a discovery standpoint, there's so much halo effect that any type of platform can generate, right? So I have sellers who are on Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, and no matter where they're selling, they can see lift from their social presence. So that SEO element of going to Google and searching. Searching for solutions, or going to Amazon and doing a search find buy for the brand absolutely helps them lift in all areas. So no matter what platform, I think there's a lot of sellers that have just been relying on marketplaces and not building their brand or building content on social platforms, and that time really has passed. Like, if you really want to stay relevant in whatever marketplace you're selling in, it really is critical for you to build a brand and social presence on those other platforms as well.
Yeah,
And I guess
I'll quickly speak to this halo effect, right? I think that is the most incredible thing about this. I'm building a tool right now actually called Halo, because brands actually need to understand. So one of the things that brands will do is they'll work on TikTok Shop specifically for 1 or 2 months, and they won't see the because TikTok Shop really is this big flywheel that takes a while to get going. They'll actually often see the halo first onto their D2C and Amazon. before they'll actually see the break even happening on TikTok Shop. And so then what they'll do is like, oh, TikTok Shop doesn't work, right? I hear that all the time. And I'm like, well, it's actually not, it's not true at all. We're seeing massive brands. There's a brand that we work with at Social Commerce Club that does $3 million a month right now. And they are actually going back on a ton of their spend on other channels. They're backing off of other channels because this is the top of funnel that's feeding everything else, right? And that's the really important thing to understand is like, this is the channel that is actually doing the heavy lifting. I think that everyone out there, you know, if you've been running meta ads for any amount of time, you'll find top of funnel more and more difficult to actually reach on Meta versus TikTok. TikTok is this like blue ocean still of top of funnel, an organic top of funnel that then halos onto these other channels. And it's like, you know, Michelle was talking about this search, find, buy over on Amazon. It's so powerful for your brand when people go and do that, right? Like that is how you move up the rankings. And then there's social search as well, right? There's this whole idea of social search where you're also ranking on social search, whether it's on TikTok or on Instagram and Facebook, right? Like there's all of these places. And then there's also the same thing happening on ChatGPT, right? And all of those. And so the problem is you're not going to be discovered nearly as well unless you have those moments in social selling, right? And that is why I'm obsessed with it for a brand. And I really think it is like the way for brands to grow in the next little while, right? Because demand generation is what is going to then fuel all the demand capture after.
Yeah, and to that point, potentially one of the things that I would do if like I started selling like on TikTok is activating right away some branded search term on Google, just because you want to know that people will like type your brand to know who you are, or like go to your website and you want to be there for them, especially if you don't have like, if you don't rank high on Google, or if you're not like clearly there and visible to people, you almost want to build the funnel, right? So like as a TikTok as a first touch point. But on the other side, just to create some, just to create some like to also to tackle the other side, because it's at the top of the funnel, it's also hard to retain customers. So this is one of the questions that we keep receiving, right? So if someone buy from TikTok, then how do I retain it? How do I retain the customer? Sangha,
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think in terms of retaining customers, you do want to keep them engaged on the platform. Obviously, we are interested in keeping them like purchasing and repurchasing on TikTok Shop. And I think the best way to do that is to continuously have content that's relevant for those customers and those folks that are engaged with your brand already. So we do really recommend that you do have a consistent stream of content that is new and refreshed, and especially when you have new product launches, or if you have like updates that are happening for your brand or for your product lines, to be able to like announce that, work with creators that are part of our affiliate program to be able to make sure that you have fresh content that's coming out. And another really good lever to leverage in terms of keeping your customers engaged is through live shopping. So we do have an ability to live stream on our platform and be able to showcase your products in a more long form format. And through lives, you can definitely build up that kind of brand loyalty and kind of that human element to your brand that customers are looking for, and be able to engage with them on a more real-time basis, see what their feedback is, and really kind of have that interaction moment that customers often value.
I think that one of the lowest lift things that brands can do right now is just post on TikTok 10 times a day. Like just post, like the amount of brands that just aren't even posting on their own handles. It is such low hanging fruit, right? And if you think about like, I like to think about TikTok is like the ultimate Pareto principle, right? So the 80-20 principle that like, if you post 10 times a day, 2 of those are probably going to do okay, right? And they need to be like different, like you're just testing, like this is your testing ground. This is what TikTok is there for, right? And then you can take that content and whatever wins on TikTok generally ports over really well to your other channels. That's another like you know trick is like usually Instagram content does not work very well going back over to TikTok and or YouTube content, but it all works from TikTok over to Shorts. TikTok over to Instagram, right? And this is what brands should be spending the majority of their time on is like testing these different messaging. these different messages specifically on TikTok, right? And you can do that. Like, it's not as though the algorithm, tells you don't post. It's hungry for content all the time, right? So that's a huge way that you can retain those customers. Also, TikTok Shop has subscriptions, right? So that's another way. And I know that it's in beta for. I mean, most categories have it now, right, Sangha? Have
Yeah, I
subscriptions?
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the majority of brands of categories out there have subscriptions, so that's something else, right? For retention. Um, I mean, there's lots of other ways that you can again remember that these customers halo onto your other channels, right? But there's a lot of creative ways that are similar to things that you would do on Amazon. I know Michelle wants to talk all about those creative ways, right, Michelle?
I sure do.
With someone from TikTok on here.
Yeah, and then
I
to add on to that, actually, to what Jordan said, I do have a nice little stat. 64% of TikTok users actually prefer brands that have a variety of content, and are like, and they prefer brands that are really engaged on the platform. So like, an average buyer now isn't just looking for a specific brand identity for your brand, like where it like really sticks to the script. You have the ability to be really creative and see what kind of like messaging sticks with the customers that you're looking for. So I would say, yeah, to echo Jordan's point, like really experiment. Maybe not. I mean, maybe 10 videos a day might be a little too much, but at least like be consistent in your approach and continue just posting regularly.
On this,
If 10 per channel is too much, one of the things that we do at Social Commerce Club is we create marketing channels, marketing accounts that have different angles to put more and more content out, right? More and more ideas. So if 10 per account is too much, create more accounts, right? I cannot stress this enough that you cannot get to any sort of level. Like, if you think about the 80-20 principle, the more content you put out there, the more 20% you're going to get, right? And so put out 100 pieces of content, you're going to get 20 pieces, right? But if you're going to put out one a day, it's just not going to work, right? And I saw somebody write on here, like, it's such a hassle to post on TikTok because it's not connected. You have to post natively on TikTok.
Yeah,
Like, what I'm trying to say here is, like, build your entire social presence around posting on TikTok and then use that for everything else. So, like, and that's using the TikTok app, unfortunately, right? If you're going to post from third party, you're just going to get destroyed. So it's like, you need to do that. Sorry, I'll let I.
no, that's extremely helpful. I was reading the comment, and yeah, I think there are some comments about that, about posting. I think Kristen said that sometimes it's hard because you can't, like, it's hard to calendar posting it. So your recommendation there, Jordan, is like doing it natively. Then, like, it's a bit of a hassle, but you want to do it within the platform. There's not like a third-party tool that you would recommend, for example.
There's native scheduling. You can schedule natively. You don't have to use a third party app. But yeah, to Jordan's point, and I'm sure, like, every time I give any kind of content number guidelines to sellers, there's always the look of panic across the faces that I see where they're like, like, they haven't been posting at all, and now we're saying you need to produce at least 200 pieces of content a week. There's a panic, a widespread panic, and heart attacks. I will also say, to the retention piece, if we're talking to people who are used to having a customer funnel, and then you have an email system and can do all kinds of follow-up and all these things. TikTok has a lot of native tools built into Shop as well. The customer engagement tool is a great communication way to actually communicate directly with the sellers or your buyers. And to be able to say, hey, we've got a new product, or hey, you bought this, but did you see this? Something that's really critical for sellers to understand is that every listing that you have on the platform, the primary way that buyers are going to purchase your product and discover and purchase your product is because of content out there. So if you're bringing over your entire catalog to TikTok Shop, are you planning to create that level of content plus ads plus probably sampling with creators for every single product? No, absolutely not. So how you set up your listings is really critical to your success on TikTok Shop. And I would say to nest as many relevant products under your hero products, your best performing content, like all of those kind of strategies from a product strategy standpoint. And if you have a product that's starting to pop off, launching new products as variants for those products is really critical to take advantage of that momentum, because more often than not, the best-selling variant will go out of stock, but all the content and the ads can live on and continue to promote all the existing variants. I will take that one step further and say that you have to remember that TikTok is a marketing platform, right? And you have to think like a marketer. And marketing strategy really comes down to knowing your target audience and understanding how best to communicate with them and reach them. So for example of this is I have a seller who has a best-selling products, phonics flashcards. His ICP are moms who want to educate their children, their toddlers, right? And teach them how to read. He has other phonics products in his lineup. And while he could launch additional and has launched additional educational variations under that, best-selling product, we were like, add a bundle of all your other phonics products under the flashcards so that you have the ultimate phonics learning product to be able to sell as well. That's a way to just do a little lift on your AOV, because then you're showing that mom, it's not that they're not just there to buy the flashcards. They're there to solve a problem, right? They're there because they want to support their toddler in learning how to read. Well, let's give them the ultimate way with everything that they need all in one place.
Yeah,
So I'm
and
gonna take
bundles
one.
do really well on TikTok Shop, and we do recommend that actively for our sellers to leverage.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
take one
Fabrizio.
question, which is very relevant to this, but I think we were replied, but I'm gonna read out loud. So Isaac is asking, can I participate in social selling without being a creator myself? We're already overtaxed running our business. TikTok Shop has been on my to-do list for months, but I don't know what I need to do to get established.
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah, I mean,
that.
go
Oh,
ahead,
yeah, go, sorry,
Jordan.
go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that's the whole point of like that's the incredible magic of TikTok Shop, right? So you have this affiliate center, right, where you can actually reach out. I think there's something like 2.7 million active affiliates right now, somewhere in that range, somewhere between 2 and 3 million. And you can reach out. Sorry, that's in US, and then there's a bunch of other markets as well. But remember, like this is the magic, is reaching out to them, sending samples, not having to pay, right? So like, especially for people that are on this call right now, do not pay any sort of retainers. That is not something you need to be doing at first, right? Work with people who already have GMV on the platform, right? Who have already produced revenue for other brands like yours. Use a tool out there. I use a tool called Reacher. There's lots of them. There's Yuka. There's a bunch of different tools out there that you guys can use to reach out to a lot of these people and start working with these creators specifically, right? Like, this is what I talk about constantly, is how to work with creators. Because when you are doing social selling and you're working on TikTok Shop, you're not trying to sell to a customer. You're trying to sell to the creators, right? And if you can get the creators on board, that's the only people we're ever thinking about with our brands, right? Is the creators. From there, then they're going to go out and figure out how to sell your product, because they're only incentivized to make money when they sell your product, right? So that's the beautiful thing.
Right. It's
Yeah, and we have and we have the commission kind of set up where the creators will only be paid out if they sell your product, and you can decide how much you feel comfortable in terms of like the commission rate that you want to give them for that. On average, we do recommend at least like 15% for a sale, but it just depends on like the type of product that you're selling, what you feel comfortable. And within Affiliate Center and some of these third-party tools like Reacher and Yuka as well, you will be able to pull in some metrics to help you determine how to filter out or select creators that you want to work with, like engagement rate, average, view for per video, how much historical GMV that they've driven. So you'll have some guidelines in terms of like narrowing down the creators that you want to work with out of the millions that we currently have on our platform.
Yeah, can I just want to step in there for 1 second, because one of the so I wouldn't think about it nearly as much as a percentage of sales that creators care about as much as the actual dollar amount. So we have a massively high GMV creator network, and then we've also got some smaller ones at our agency as well. And there's a few things that creators must have. $5 minimum per purchase, right? So whatever percentage that is, right? Again, I think 15% is a good rule of thumb, but it has to be minimum of $5, which is why you need to bundle to get to that sort of level for it to be $5. Number two is free shipping. You have to offer free shipping on TikTok Shop or creators. That is an automatic no. So those are two like really quick things. There's more than that. But you'll have to go to my YouTube to watch. So just kidding. I'll tell you. But yeah, those are the two big ones. So
I'm seeing
I feel the commenter's pain though, you know, that he's already got TikTok Shop on his list of things to do. And I feel like that's a lot of sellers are in that pain. And the thing that holds them back from moving forward is just the weight of content creation and not even knowing where to start. And I think one of the beautiful things that is TikTok Shop's platform is the ability to quickly facilitate the empowering creators to create that content for you and recruiting them. And the whole system is internally managed as opposed to on other platforms where it's very difficult to do. All the outreach is kind of manual, and then you're having to do manual follow-up and manual sending of samples and manual, like all of these things that are very heavy lifting. Whereas everything within TikTok and TikTok Shop is all native. Like you can, you know, search for the affiliates that you want to recruit, and you can approve their samples. The system automatically ships it. And I think one of the beautiful things as well is the system also holds the creators accountable for creating that content. So they have 12 to 14 days to create content from the time that the tracking ID says that the order has arrived at their house. The clock is ticking. There's a countdown, you know, and those creators are like hustling to create that content for you. So it's a really great system, and I feel like it's the easiest thing for sellers who are completely overwhelmed and don't know where to start to be able to get started doing that.
There are a few questions which are extremely interesting, and I think they introduce a very like generic topic around what product. So what are the right product to sell, right? And let's tackle this first, and then we go into the specific questions because we do have a few very, very interesting ones. So who wants to take this? So what product should I sell on TikTok?
So I have a slide if you guys want to see it. Sometimes I feel like, you know, it's easier to say than it's easier to demonstrate, right? Like that's kind of the key to the platform. So I just gave this training yesterday at an event in New York City. So you guys, this is like fresh off the presses. So kind of like my keys to TikTok ability. The first is demonstrability. Like this is a bit like any social platform is going to be video centric. So you need to have a product with a very strong visual hook that like 10 seconds is generous. Like it needs to be like 3 seconds, like very quick, you know, somebody's scrolling and we're interrupting that scroll. So demonstrability is really key. Unique features, like how is your product different? Is it different? You know, and as I go through these guys as sellers, think about your products and how these kind of filters apply to those products. Do your products have unique features and key differentiators? And then does it serve niche, like a niche or a niche, if you will? Like the riches are in the niches, especially on TikTok. There's lots of ways that the algorithm starts to group people together. And if you have like a passionate niche that you serve, congratulations, they're on TikTok and you can absolutely sell to them. And then does it solve a problem? Is there a real problem that you are solving and that, you know, addresses a real customer need? And can it be demonstrated with unique features? Like does it meet all those things? And then there is that impulse buying nature, right? It's not to say that expensive products can't be sold on the platform, but as soon as we get into those higher price points, then people start shopping. And that's when they're going to go to Amazon in the marketplace and see all of your competition, right? I just posted a video about this on LinkedIn actually, because I was doing the scroll on TikTok and I saw the perfect product and I went to buy, and actually they didn't have free shipping, and I was like, So where did I go? I went to Amazon where I have free shipping, right? And that day a competitor got my sale, even though the demand and the awareness was actually created by QVC. So here's an example, I think, of a really great product video that you guys can see.
Sold out once before, but now they are finally back in stock. If you're sick of having a tangled mess like this, I threw all my old ratchet straps away when I got these. With these new automatic ratchet straps from Rhino, all you gotta do is clip it on. You don't gotta worry about that tangled mess anymore. Another thing I really like about them is right here on the end of the clip,
So I won't show the full video, but you can see that strong visual hook from like moment one. It stops people in their tracks. And there is like a hint of rage bait in here too, because Cybertrucks are very, very um, controversial, we'll say. And so guaranteed half of the comments in the comment section are like, that's not a real truck, you know, but thank you for the engagement and helping that video to complete its purpose and creating engagement. So yeah, those are kind of like the 5 filters that I look for in TikTokable products.
So let's tackle a few questions then, because there is like one like very interesting one about for example, is TikTok shopping possible for print-on-demand fashion brand that takes 10, 14 days for product to get to customers?
I can actually answer that. We do have integrations with various different print-on-demand partners and who are able to ship orders within the SLA that we do require. So we do work with Printify, Printful, Printburger, like T-Fury. There's like a bunch of them that support TikTok Shop specifically and are able to deliver orders. And you can leverage the direct integration that we have with these providers. So you don't even have to worry about fulfilling orders or getting them yourself and then fulfilling them. So I would recommend, we do have the app store within TikTok Shop. If you search for it, you should be able to find it. Where we do have the specific category for print on demand that you can search for and see if your print on demand provider does support TikTok Shop. And if they don't right now, if you work with a provider that doesn't work with TikTok Shop right now, flag it to them, let them know that they do have a way to support TikTok Shop, and you may be able to get that ability to sell on TikTok through your current print on demand partner.
TikTok also has a handmade, you know, or custom made category. And so if your products, maybe you're like custom making a nut butter or a hand lotion or something for somebody, then that 2-day SLA requirement is extended to 7 to 14 days. So you do have some kind of wiggle room in there depending on your product category as well.
Yeah.
Another question, extremely interesting, from Stacy. We are in a highly regulated industry. Can I use TikTok influencers while also being able to disallow use of certain words or phrases?
That's a good question. We do recommend that once you start reaching out to creators within our affiliate center, that you do provide a creative brief or any sort of like guidelines that you want them to stick to. And once you do that, you just want to make sure that you're extra clear in terms of the guidelines that you do offer. Like, please don't mention these words, or like, please like position in a certain way. And then for certain types of collaboration plans that we do offer, there is an ability for you to review the content before it gets published. So you will have some sort of moderation that you could leverage potentially if that's what you want to do before the content gets posted by the creators.
Amazing.
You can also review all the content. TikTok has a ads platform called GMV Max, where anything that is shoppable content automatically gets sucked into an ad campaign. It's a great feature. I always recommend sellers review all the content that is being published, like make that part of your just core workflow on a weekly basis. Just making sure any new content, and you can filter by learning or in queue, you know, those kinds of things, so that you know it's new, and just watch that. And then you can, you know, basically like make it so if it's not saying the right things, that you can keep it out of your campaigns. You can kick it out of the campaign as well. But here's the thing, guys. Let's say that you're in the supplement space, and Jordan, I would also appreciate your thoughts on this as well. But like, you have to, just as any other marketplace, you have to be very careful about the claims and making claims. So it's really critical that you, not the creators, you as the seller, understand the prohibited products categories, what you can and cannot bring on the platform, as well as community guidelines on TikTok, what you can and cannot say on TikTok. So there's kind of those two sides to the equation: is the marketplace equation and then the social platform side of the equation, where it really is your responsibility to understand what can and cannot be said, and not just being like, I didn't know. Well, guess what? When it comes to appealing, I don't know, it doesn't work. It is your responsibility to understand what you can and can't say on the platform.
I'll just step in there too. Like it's so important, in fact, right, to know exactly what can be said, because like I mean, TikTok's awesome, but like I mean, I love all of our TikTok people, but they do not have the time, nor like if you get shut down, like good luck, right? Like there is
Yeah.
only so many people that can help you. So we actually created at Social Commerce Club, we created a custom GPT that ingests all of TikTok's guidelines for creators, for brands, for everything, so that you can literally just drop a URL in and be like, what can I say? What can't I say? Will this get approved? Which category should I be in? All of that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to figure out how. Anyway, I've got in, if you search TikTok Shop OS on School, SKOOL, that within there, I have access to all those custom GPTs. That is like just gold. Our team uses them all the time to make sure that it's good, and then I just try and give it out to people too. So that's the best thing that I can offer you.
Yeah, and I would say like don't try to game the system if possible. Like it will not get you anywhere. I've had some sellers that reach out saying like, oh, I tried to list because my competitor is listing in a different category because our category is actually prohibited or not supported on TikTok. And I see them selling, why can't I do that too? And just like list in a different category. Please don't do that. Everyone's gonna get caught at the end of the day. And the last thing you want is to get your, business information blacklisted or like unable to sell in the future. So make sure you read the policies, see which categories are supported on TikTok Shop, and make sure, yeah, you just kind of display your products as authentically as possible.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let's take another question on the product side of things, and then we move into something else that I already identified extremely interesting. So Gustavo is asking, my business is in a high ticket drop shipping. I do not generally have access to the physical product that I sell. How do I create a TikTok presence? Would you recommend using generative AI video tools?
Ooh, careful. So AI content. So remember, let's go back to 2020 when TikTok took off, right? So what makes TikTok so great compared to other platforms is authenticity, right? So during COVID, if we can say that word out loud, we were all stuck at home and our roots were growing out and our kids were running around in the background during Zoom calls, right? It was this like time of extreme authenticity. And other social platforms such as Instagram is very aspirational from a content creation standpoint, whereas TikTok was like people falling out of bed, and talking about the products that they're using that day. And that's what really, authenticity is really kind of the foundation of TikTok's success from a content standpoint. So AI and generative AI, while it can create content, it removes that layer of authenticity. And just a couple weeks ago, TikTok released new community guidelines around AI content. And, there's a time and a place for it, but you do need to be careful in building an entire business using AI generation. If to answer the bigger question that you have of like, hey, I can't send out samples, it's like, okay, well, in that instance, maybe you need to get in front of the camera yourself or hire creators where there's lots of content being created in-house as opposed to being outsourced, so that you have that content engine that you're building to create content as opposed to just relying on AI, which may or may not have a very short time span of lifespan on TikTok in general.
I think that was
Anything you want to add there from
No,
TikTok's
I think that
official?
was perfect. Yeah. We do definitely value authenticity on the platform, and real creators come first, I feel like. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, so definitely kind of you don't want to just make AI your kind of the only way that you're creating content, basically. Obviously, you can use AI to streamline or like enhance some of the elements within your content for sure. We do offer AI tools for like subtitling or like voiceovers and whatnot that you could also leverage, but it shouldn't be the only way that you're creating content.
Amazing. So with that, there are a couple of questions that I think are extremely interesting because they touch on the demographic right? So the idea of who buys like on TikTok. And I think there is a question from I would tackle this question from Marquita. Would you still recommend using TikTok for brands and or pages whose product and messaging are primarily towards an older demographic than Gen Z and millennials?
I think actually the demographic has been growing on the platform. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but we do see a lot of like the older generations than Gen Z actively engaging on the platform and purchasing and making those purchases on the platform. So I don't think that's necessarily like an issue that we'll run into, is finding that audience that you're targeting if it does skew a little older.
And
Yeah,
with this,
absolutely.
yeah, no, go on, please, Jordan.
I was gonna say, yeah. So like when people ask like, oh, who's on TikTok? It's like, well, I mean, what are the stats now? It's like around 200 million people spend 90 minutes a day on the platform, like
Yeah.
somewhere in that sort of range. Like 200 million people. That's right. That's in the US. It's wild, but it's not just that, it's the content creation that you're getting, right? All of that content, like if you go onto Facebook, I spent a lot of time recently on Facebook, which is weird. And if you go onto Facebook and watch Facebook Reels, you're like, that's just TikTok content, right? It's the same thing on Instagram. It's all TikTok style content. And so you take that content, and even if you're just breaking even on TikTok Shop, you're going to take that content and port it over if you can get rights to it to go then use on other platforms where maybe your core demo is spending a lot more time. Like, you know, a 70-year-old is probably going to spend more time over on Facebook than they are on TikTok. Like, let's be real, but they're still potentially spending some time over there. So that's where I see kind of all of this working together. That's why I'm so obsessed with omni-channel, right? So that's that.
And lots of comments, you know, coming in of my 70-year one, somebody saying my 71-year-old mother is buying TikTok shop stuff every day. I'm 45, I'm on the platform, and every demographic, like I feel like every demographic, and this is what makes TikTok, I think, so powerful, is that the niches are there. Like there's lots of, you know, age niches. When I'm on the platform, I don't see 20-year-old, you know, very young, perfect skinned women teaching me how to like doing glass skin demonstrations, right? I see myself on the platform. I see other 45-year-old women, you know, selling me products, right? And I think that's the power of the algorithm. It's not just 20-year-olds dancing during COVID anymore. It's very much evolved to an every demographic marketplace. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so powerful, is that everybody can find themselves, their interests, their people on TikTok.
And I have a question around that, around this. The point you meant, just to spend a few minutes like on the point that you mentioned, Jordan, in terms of sharing content across platforms, right? So I want to know a bit more like what's your take, because your take, like what this panel take. Also, we have a question where, well, yeah, the question that I'm seeing is mostly from people concerned that the demographic is not right on TikTok, so they would like to understand if there are similarities, or like they can use like Meta, or like from your experience, Meta, Instagram can be used, Instagram, Facebook can be used in the same way. And I believe it goes to that point that you were mentioning around certain content, the format of the content is becoming similar, right? So what's your take on cross-channel content and how to use also Instagram, Facebook shops?
Yeah, totally. So this is kind of the way that I see it, right? I see TikTok shop content, right, really being at the core of like an omni-channel strategy, right? So brands having that there, then capturing that content, right, with some kind of third-party tool. I like Refunnel. That's a great tool if you guys want to go check that out. To actually capture that content, get the rights to then use it on other platforms. Right. So you may have to pay a little bit to use that on another platform. You might have to incentivize them in a similar way. That's again why I love Refunnel, is because they actually do that. They actually have like incentive structures that you can set up based on like a percentage of ad spend or a percentage of sales to try to create a similar demographic. Like TikTok's awesome, but don't like be fooled. It's not like everyone is spending every single minute there. They're spending time on all of these different platforms, and you really want to be able to show up everywhere, right? And that's the omni-channel experience that I'm talking about. We even use that content at Social Commerce Club. Well, we actually use it on people's product pages. So there's a great tool called Livecom, if you go search that up, Lyve, where you can actually take all of this content and then put it on product pages on PDPs, which is a really, really great way to be able to use that content. You just use it like literally everywhere. Also crazy, and I'm sure Sangha knows all about this, at Target, I believe. Just so everyone knows, I'm a Canadian, so like we don't have Target anymore. They tried to come into Canada. I don't know. Canadians don't like Target. I don't know why. We do, but I don't think they understood how to make money in Canada. Um, but oh no, sorry, not at Target. It's one of the other like CVS or something like that, where on the end cap they have the as seen on TikTok shop end cap, which is crazy, right? So even if you think about that, like a lot of the brands that we work with are kind of like very well known, you know, a lot of these logos, they're starting to actually have their TikTok shop creators videos on screens in their retail locations. That's wild, right? Like think about all of the different places that you can use this content. It just travels so well. So that's the like step by step of how I would do that, is like capture the content using Refunnel, get the rights, and then use it wherever you want.
And would you do that organically, or would you do that through ads? Because we have another question from Julian that he says, what about ways yet to use Facebook to sell more product? My customer aren't on TikTok. Meta ads seem to get more and more expensive and less effective.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive conversation, but like of course, use that content. So I was going to say a $1 billion shoe brand that we work with, their top performing meta content is TikTok shop content that we took and moved over to Meta. So like 100%, it is the content that works. It also is really good top of funnel content. So there's this like crazy 30-page thing that I shared on LinkedIn the other day from Meta talking about creative IDs and how to actually break out of the same, like what often happens is you think you're being creative with all of the different ads, but they actually all get lumped into the exact same ID, and Meta serves it to the exact same like 400,000 customers because you just can't, there's so many different reasons, and to be like an hour-long webinar talking all about that. But this is why TikTok Shop is so incredible. It's because these creators all are taking a different look at it and creating different style of content. That's why it ports over to Meta so well. So there you go. Sorry, Michelle, I know you were about to say something. I was just very passionate.
No, I was just like, I appreciate the passion, man. We are nothing if not passionate marketers in this universe, right? I think that's the beauty of using TikTok as both the content, where you're building the content, testing the content, and then what's converting. Then you take that to your other platforms from an expansion standpoint, instead of like, oh, we're dabbling with Instagram content over here and we're dabbling with YouTube content over here. It's like, build it all, build that engine on TikTok first, and then and it's speed to conversion, right? Because there's a frictionless buying experience, it becomes really obviously really quick what content is actually converting. If I can be honest with you, when TikTok Shop did not exist, I actually hated TikTok. I was passionately against TikTok. I felt like it was a big FOMO fest because I was working with a ton of Amazon sellers. I was the CMO for an Amazon aggregator where we had all these brands, and they gave me this huge team and this huge budget to be able to test all kinds of external marketing strategies to try to drive sales on Amazon. And we had all these sellers who were popping off on TikTok, and we couldn't ever replicate it. We'd have like kind of this moment in time where we, like Jordan was saying, you find some influencer and pay them $5,000 for a post, and then you just like wonder, like, did something happen? Did we get anything from that? Did we get any, did anything happen on Amazon? There were so many of those moments that I was just like, lame sauce. I do not like just burning cash on the floor. No, thank you. Like this, there's no external attribution with Amazon to be able to actually scale anything, and we were doing all the things, social posting, Amazon, ads to Amazon listings, all of the things. I hated all of it. I hated it all. And then the second that TikTok Shop opened, I was like, okay, all right, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for, because now it closes all those attribution loops, right? And it makes it really clear. There is no question what's driving conversions. So as soon as sellers are like, I had some sales, and I'm like, cool, this is the video that drove those sales. This is the creator that made those sales. These are the ads. This is your ROI from those sales, right? So it becomes really clear. And then you can take those creatives, hopefully with a, obviously you know, that's the creator's IP. So you want to make sure that you either compensate them or have their permission to then use it on other platforms. But it's that testing engine is all pre-built in to be able to expand to other platforms as well.
And
Yeah.
know that we are 5 minutes until the end, but I cannot end this session without asking one question that we at Judge.me we really care a lot about, which is what is the role of reviews in social commerce, right? So like the role of UCG, like, so well, what's social proof? Do they play a role, and how?
I mean, what
Yeah,
are shoppable
definitely.
posts if not product reviews, right? Like shoppable posts are product reviews, right? So, I mean, it's huge. Now, I think that how buyers buy on the platform and what roles reviews play is very different on TikTok Shop versus Amazon and Walmart and anywhere else where you see all your competitors in one space and people are making decisions based on rank and reviews. It's a different, it is a different ballgame, but having that like, you know, no BS factor on TikTok Shop where you have all of these creators demonstrating the product in a very transparent manner is really critical from an awareness generating. And then on the PDP, that's where Judge.me is such a great solution, because especially if you're expanding to TikTok Shop, you probably have reviews on Amazon, on Shopify, on your D2C, and just porting those over to TikTok Shop makes it so easy to create that base of reviews. Now ratings don't import, right? That
They
reviews.
do. So
They
the
do.
Oh,
reviews
the
and the
ratings
star
import
ratings
now?
will, yeah, I can add on to that. So the star reviews and like the ratings and the content of the review will import, but they won't dictate the quality of your product on TikTok Shop. So it will just be kind of on your PDP to make sure it helps customers who are considering purchasing your product have that social proof at more, you know, like macro level. And it won't necessarily impact, you know, your shop's like performance score or quality score of the shop, so you don't have to worry about that aspect.